And boom, boom, bam, we're live. Of course, I could go on and on, with a 10-minute introduction, but I think the name speaks for itself. Epic Catfish here with us tonight. How's it going, Tim?
Well, Stan, I'm finally home on a Friday night where
Yeah.
I could actually get in your live. I remember I agreed to it a couple of times thinking, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I'll be good. And I'm like, football games and all that. But counter season's over finally. I am going to miss watching them, though. It was
Oh,
a senior year. Last football game was last week.
Ooh.
And, yeah.
Yeah, I went nuts with that until now. My granddaughters are doing softball, so I finally had something to kind of fill that void a little bit. But
Yep, there you go.
But well, shout out to people. We got Mike Sampy out there. How's it going, Sampy? I see Dustin, Nina's Kayak Crew, Uptown, Chrissy Brown, Curtis Cunningham. How you doing? There's Freddie, FOA Customs and Gear. What's up, Freddie? James Alba. And by the way, how's the audio out there? I've been having huge audio. I think I was telling you, huge audio issues with echo because of my phone. But I think the new phone got it fixed. Rowdy Royal, Doug, Rebel River Cats. How you doing? Half Century Catfishing. Dominic Hollis fishing. Mac fishing. What's up? What's up? Speaking of Dominic, I'm going to be a guest this Sunday night, I think. Sunday night, I think 6 something my time over here. Dominic can put the information out there, what channel it's going to be on. Pretty excited about that. Let's see. Uncle Jeep, audio is good. No echo. All right. That's a big deal for someone like me to figure out a technical issue. You know what I mean? So, Crappy Day Fish on. Hello, hello. 50 Cent. Awesome to see everybody in tonight. Greg B, how's it going? So I said we were going to start. We'll start with, what's happening this time of year, what the movements are, and we were talking a little bit about it backstage, but we'll start there, Tim, and then as that goes, if there's things out there or they want us to expand on anything, we'll go. How's that sound? We'll expand from there.
Sounds great, Stan. So I heard you focused upstream. What did you find?
Ooh, well, I was surprised that the water level was up because, we haven't had rain and stuff, but the level was up, but there was just no flow. It was just, even the leaves on the top of the water were barely going downstream and an outgoing tide. And, and that was it. We found leaves, no bait fish, no marks on the graph. It was just dead. I mean, nothing.
So you had some rain, but I'm guessing if you weren't marking anything from the falls area all the way down to probably Hopewell, I'm guessing that you had some cold rain upriver.
Oh, it's been cold because the water temperature went from low 60s last week, say mid 60s, mid to 64-ish, right in there. Mm-hmm. It was down to low 58 last night. It was almost probably it dropped in the 57, 56 range last night.
Gotcha.
The water temperature.
Yeah. Well, and that creates one of those phenomenon, especially in a tidal river where the deeper, slower water will stay warmer longer. And that cold rain starts pushing, and it'll push the bait fish. It'll push the big fish, and it'll push a lot of fish, down past that basic. I would want to call it the temperature line, but it's a temperature line that's pretty harsh usually. Like it's almost like a shocking temperature to the physiology of the fish. So I mean that's one of the only things. I mean they can come right back up once they get used to it, but usually that cold gets pushed on them from a higher gradient. It can push them quite a ways down. I mean, we
Yeah.
see that happen in on the Mississippi, in October as well.
That was going to be my next question for you. Does that that happens in the majority of rivers, right? Depending on
It can, but a lot of rivers, there's no escape from it, so it doesn't really push them. The phenomenon of the lower Mississippi and Louisiana, where the salt line got pushed way upriver, and it just pushed all those catfish into a kind of a finite few mile area, because it happened fairly quickly. And then there was guys going down there and catching 50 and 100 fish a day, between 30 and 70 pounds. I mean, that's a very artificial, what I like to call an event. I mean, of course, it's a natural event, but I call it an event, or a rare event, because it just doesn't happen that often. But when it does, good or bad, it can be really drastic.
Now, is that happening because of the Mississippi, especially? Is that happening because of the water levels being down so much that it's able to push up in like that?
Yeah, that's exactly why it happened, because it's not flowing enough to push that salt down. A lot of people are saying that there was salt water on the bottom, which I don't fully understand, because salt water is lighter than fresh water. Usually fresh water occupies, the lower. It's
Right.
almost like a
Well,
it's almost like a thermocline, as far as
yeah.
cold water is heavier, but also salt water is lighter. So
And anybody that wants to think about your plastic lure, anybody that's bass fishing, if you want your lure to float or sink, to sink less quickly, it's the salt injected ones. They put salt in it, and then that floats it up a little bit. But anyways, yeah, the salt injected lure. Yes, I'm telling you. She's laughing at me over there.
Well, all right, Stan. Normally this time of year, channel cats or blues, once the leaves start falling off the trees like they are here now, usually one of the patterns that I used to go to is basically hitting larger, shallow flats, as long as it was near deeper water. Like, I couldn't go to a stretch of river that was like 9-10 feet deep and expect to catch a whole bunch of fish, but I could expect to throw baits in 3 to 4, 5, 6 foot of water, sometimes 8, if it was near 25. Because as the night temperature starts to plummet like this, they can get off those shallows and go deep and be fairly comfortable, come back up during the day. And it was usually more of a day bite than a night bite, believe that or not. And at night, if you're going to target them this time of year, I needed to target them 25, 30 foot of water. But during the day, I can almost beach my boat almost anywhere and just throw out. I could throw out darn near sideways in 2, 3, 4, 5 foot of water, and then just sort of leapfrog them down off of that drop into that 25 foot of water, almost anywhere on the Illinois River, on the Mississippi River. Smaller tributaries don't really have that opportunity, but yeah.
Now, and that's kind of the exact opposite of the summertime fishing. Same scenario, just flipped it night and day. Yeah.
Yep.
And that's why that's one of the things, and we've talked about that, and you've talked about it on other shows, and you see a lot of people, if you can find the spots like that has that deeper water with the shallow flat up off of it, that's one of the areas you find those first, and then you look for the other things from there. But
now, one thing that's a little bit different about the fall period is that the amount, if your river is a shad based river, you are going to have 1,000 times more bait as far as the small shad goes than you would in the spring and in the summer. I mean, the fall is, that's when the shad, what we call the shad bloom, is in its peak,
Right.
Before the Asian carp, I used to fish the Illinois River, and you could literally shine a spotlight across it, and every every 5 square inches you'd have a shad jumping. I mean, all over the river. It was just, there was that much shad in the water, and we still did great. I mean, go throw the cat's net and throw on those 4-inch shad, and as long as you were putting it in the right current, the right depth, and kind of putting it in their face, it's fish on. And but it doesn't look like that anymore with them Asian carp.
And that's because they've taken a lot of the
food
those areas over from the shad, the plankton and whatnot.
Yeah. And the shad, the small shad take a lot longer to get to 4 inches now. They used to get to 4 inches by June, and now it takes for them to get to 4 inches. They have a hard time building up enough body weight to make it through the winter, so their population's low.
That definitely makes sense. There's Kaz out there, catfishing with Kaz.
What up, Kaz?
Realville, JG Hill. There's Goober Time Guide Service. What's up, Dan? Dan and I got a big fishing trip planned.
Nice.
So, going down to the monster waters, Tim.
Oh, you're going low.
Oh, I can't. I'm not supposed to say anything yet. Sorry.
Oh.
Dan's gonna be calling me soon. Shh.
No.
Let's see. All parties end up in the kitchen. What?
In the kitchen, yeah.
That's right. So if anybody has, we started tonight with kind of what's going on right now. Now, in the lakes, is it a similar thing in lakes? I mean, I know they're
very similar. Very similar. Shallower during the daytime. At nighttime, but one thing about a lake is a lake usually only gets affected. Its water temperature only gets affected by the air temperature and how much sun you get. There isn't usually a bunch of water that's coming from somewhere else crashing into a warm water. Like if your regular lowland is running at 65, but yet you got water coming down that's 49. I mean that's a severe severe temperature, and being cold-blooded, it really distresses fish. It really does. So they either have to avoid it or they just have to stomach it and go through it. And it's like a lizard, it's like a lizard. They get cold, they get sluggish, their digestion slows. It's just all that.
Now, in your opinion, I'm not talking.
Look at this. Look, Stan. Freddie just can't help himself. He's dying to know that. Freddie,
as soon as he heard you were guests tonight.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about it, but I do plan on putting out at least one epic YouTube video that I'm kind of wanting to title it "The Last Monster" because when Sean locked into that Epic 90 on that FOA rod, it was epic. So I'm going to let the video speak for itself, and we can talk about it. But I would have to say the FOA rod performed quite well, but it was quite hair-raising because there was a lot of things going on while it was. I mean, it wasn't just straight line calm water. I mean, we had current going this way and that way and this way, and I mean, it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, well, I've as one of the people that we've caught multiple 60s on them, Stan 3 has got a 70 something on them, so nice. We love them. So, anyways, Freddie's like, "Come on, I can't wait anymore."
Yeah. So before Freddie rudely interrupted, what were you asking?
Now. What was I starting to ask? Because son of a gun. You know what? I got so caught up in that.
That's all right.
There he is.
That's right. Freddie's he's like a kid at Christmas. We love Freddie. Freddie's
and there he is. He's a two stands from part of the two crew, the two stands fish with family member for 21 months. Thank you very much, Freddie. Son of a gun. What was I going to ask?
I think we were
Well,
talking about lakes. We were talking about the difference between rivers, with the rain
yeah.
and if you think about it, groundwater plays a big role in rivers because once it gets so low and you don't even have any rain, yet the river still has water in it because it's usually groundwater. Well, spring water is fairly cool. So, I mean, once you don't have any water coming off of
Oh,
shallows and draining into a river, it can cool fairly quickly, especially if you have really cold nights.
okay. I remembered because this is something that I've wanted to know before too. Because you hear things of like cold fronts and negative. Let's just call them negative bite situations, cold
Mhm.
fronts, changes in temperature, et cetera, et
Yep.
cetera. How
Wind
long?
upriver.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, wind upriver is a killer on a
how
bite.
long does it take that to affect them? And then how long does it take it for them to come back from that?
Okay, so and this is a pretty good question for me because I've spent a lot of time at length not only theorizing this but kind of
Yeah,
testing
yeah.
it out, especially since I was a guide at one time. So I got to fish every single day of the week. So when you fish every single day of the week, it is easy to notice a pattern. It's easy to know if, like, let's just say we had a cold front come in that day, but yet the bite is still pretty good for half a day to 3/4 of a day,
Mhm.
or even half the night to 3/4 of a night. But then usually that cold front will that bite will drop off pretty drastically, and even if it stays the same temperature, it still takes several days for that bite to come back, and it will come back. But if it drops hard again, it's also a negative bite until it stabilizes, and it usually takes somewhere in the territory of 3 days. So 3 days to make a bite go up, and 3 days to uh, reverse it. So it'll crash fairly quickly. It's like, okay, so you get 3 days on your graph. It's the bite starts out good, it comes along, and all of a sudden here comes the cold front that night. Here comes the weather pattern that night. Say we change from low pressure and warm to high pressure and cold or nippy, and it'll fall straight down. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
it can fall like 10-0 in a matter of 4 or 5 hours, fall to absolutely nothing, and not come back for a day and a half to 2 days. So that whole 3 day cycle, and usually it doesn't go from a
Uh-huh.
bad bite to way up here. It usually takes another day and a half, day to day and a half before that bite is good. And you never know, like the bite may only get half as good, but if it's really favorable conditions, it can go way up before it shoots way back down. And I have not noticed, and anybody in chat, let us know if you have. I have not noticed a great bite ever lasting more than about 2 days. I've never had a great bite like just awesome. Usually it lasts one day.
Yeah.
You got to be on the water at the right time, and it's like you got to stand behind a tree to bait your hook. Everything you do is right. You're the greatest. It's
Yeah.
big fish everywhere, and then all of a sudden, bam! It just
And,
stopped.
and dude, a lot of times it's like a window. It's like hours. We're not even talking a day.
Yeah,
We're talking
yeah.
like that's why I'm a big believer.
Well,
I just
Stan,
go
to
ahead.
know if that happens, uh, you have to have multiple epic spots. Like there are times when the fish are really going. I've got a few different spots I can go to because you kind of
Hmm.
exhaust the spot. Maybe
Sure,
it's an
sure,
hour, but there was only 6 fish there, and then you move
sure.
to the other spot and you catch 4. But that's the only reason I even know it lasts that long, because otherwise I would really think that it only lasts an hour or two. But that is more reserved for the cold water period than it is for the spring, uh, summer, and most of fall.
Sure, absolutely. And like I was saying, I'm a big believer in some things affect more than others. We were talking about cold fronts and all that kind of stuff. But I'm a big believer in everything kind of is a compounding effect. So the more negative things you have going on, cold weather, cold front,
Yes, sir.
boom, boom, it pushes it down more. The more positive, it pushes it the other way. So I
Yeah.
kind of think that's
Yeah.
that's what I think anyhow. I think there's no one particular, moon phase, all that stuff that everybody puts a lot of. I think it all adds together into a better bite or worse bite. But
I believe that, but I also believe there are certain things that can't make it any worse or can't make it any better.
yeah, I hear you. JG Hill says, question: while fishing lake water, what are your thoughts on catfish moving from cold mornings to mid 70s by midday, asking for a friend?
Okay, I'm failing to see a question here. I'll have to question while fishing
What?
lake water. What are your thoughts on catfish moving from cold mornings to midday? Oh, you mean their movement? I believe
Yeah,
that's what you're
where
probably
are they
trying
going to
to
be
say.
in the morning when it's a cold night like that?
They're
Uh,
going to be at least semi deep. They may not be like buried all the way down into 50, 60 foot of water, but if your water has 40 foot, I would expect to find between 25 and 40, somewhere around there, but close enough. They may not move all the way like down into the super deep water. Like maybe you got a Corps of Engineers type lake, and up in the upper third, it's relatively shallow, where deep water is like 15 foot. But as you go to the middle, it might be quite a bit deeper. But then if you go above the dam, it might be 400 or 500 feet deep. Well, they don't need to go, or even 100 feet deep. They don't want to travel like this on that day-to-day movement for 15 miles. Now, if the water temperature crashes low and stays that way, and it also coincides with the amount of daylight, they're going towards their wintering area. And do remember one thing: wintering is different in the middle part where I live than it is on the East Coast and in the southern part. So there's not really true wintering that goes on. We used to think that there was true wintering, but on the East Coast, there's so much of that ocean weather that affects the temperature on land, as well as the South even has even more of that. They don't seem to true winter, but they will start kind of go into those areas that I believe Mr. Hill was asking about, those medium depth, but also having access in short order to the warming shallows. It also makes a difference on how turbid your lake is. If your lake is fairly clear, that's going to affect it quite a bit. It's going to affect location. It's going to affect whatever. And since I started watching social media again, I noticed that there's a lot of people that catch blue cats that are about as dark as this pair of sunglasses, because they're in the sun so much. But
mhm.
that's not because they prefer to be in the sun. That's because they don't have any other option. Because if they had option to deep water, they'd be looking, closer to this color than that color.
Mm. And Catfish Regulators saying they caught a 19.4 inch in 30 feet this morning, and it was 25 degrees outside.
And that seems very logical for
Mhm.
where a 20-pound blue would be during the day, and being 25 degrees as far as the air temperature. When the air
Yep.
temperature is 25 and the water temperature is say 55, that means it's a drastic cool, so they stay underneath in that that kind of insulated layer, if
Mhm.
you call it that.
So uh, that deeper water is kind of, would you say, in your opinion, that's the most stable water?
It is. It is. Unless you're in something like the Mississippi, and the Mississippi have such turnover. Like on the James, you'll actually get it'll kind of want to stratify like this, since it's
Mhm.
slower.
Yeah, yeah,
But during the tides, it starts to roll and tumble. But the
coming back,
Mississippi
right.
churns so much that there's really not a whole big temperature difference, at least up where I fish. Now, maybe down in Louisiana, where it's like, it seems that under low water conditions, that they were finding fish from 50 foot up to 40 foot, but nothing below it and nothing above it. Okay, so there was just that stratification line that was acceptable to the catfish, and wherever they found that 50 foot of water contacted the bottom, there were scads of fish there. Other places that were deeper, there wasn't as many fish, and anything shallower, there wasn't any fish. So, or any catfish. I mean, there's always, some sort of fish.
Right.
But yes, deeper water in general is going to be more stable and less affected by circumstances. I would vote that to be a very true statement.
Do we have any other questions out there? Or we'll just keep talking.
Yeah.
So I know in your area, Tim, we've talked about this before. There's kind of like that. The catfish all seem to do things. They do things on a timeline, but it's based on where you're at.
Yep.
They do it, at earlier in the year or later in the year than at other parts.
Yeah, it's for different reasons, but it almost reminds me of the caribou migration, where when that sun, it doesn't matter what the water temperature is. Mm-hmm. Now the caribou are driven by the mosquitoes. We know this, but reindeer and things like that aren't necessarily. But it's that time of year. It's when the geese fly south. It doesn't matter if it's still 80 degrees; they're still going to fly south once that sun, that amount of sunlight gets that way. My giant catfish do one of two things. That's either they go south and start going down past Louisville and all that stuff, or they go clear up the Missouri in preparation of their wintering habitat.
Now, Tim, you're talking about your bigger fish. Do you have blue cats? Do you have your cats that kind of hang around there?
Yeah, there is, but they're not there. Believe this or not, there is not a lot of them there. It is not what a lot of people think. A lot of people think that St. Louis, now maybe St. Louis, but the stretch that I fish between the Divergent Canal and say the Melvin Price Dam up there, it can literally be devoid of catfish for weeks.
Wow.
Sometimes the rest of the whole year. I mean, yeah, there's going to be a few, but I mean, when you go down there and when you scan as much and mark as few, mm-hmm. and catch one or two fish, in the October, late October, early November, I've tried it year after year for many years, and it just, and even the locals will tell you it's pretty terrible. There is a population of fish that tucks up very tight to the dam, and they stay there all year, but you can't fish them because, you can't cross that line.
Let's see. Bugman says, I'm always late to the good ones. That's all right, Bugman. So am I. And Regulator said that, he was one saying they caught the 20 before in about 30 foot of water. And then in 55 to 65 foot of water, they only got a 3 pound and a 5 pound. So they had some mm-hmm. dinks that were out in the deep water.
Mm-hmm.
And then the bigger one was already on its way up. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah. And, that's probably one of the most difficult things about lake fishing is it's very difficult to try to piece together information to where you can get a grip on what the catfish are doing because they don't follow a very strict rule on a lake. If they get active, they got to go roaming around and searching and going up into shallows and, doing all this stuff. It's not rare, but it is more rare to find them in just a certain depth of water on a lake than it is on a river. I mean, a lot of times if you're catching fish in 14, 15 foot of water on a river, you better find more of that. Or you fish too deep or too shallow and you just put yourself right out of the ball game. But on a lake, and with blues, it's somewhat like that too. But with channel cats and flatheads, they can be in very varied situations on a lake on the same day. So, I mean, that is something that's tough. And all you have to do is look at tournament results and talk to the guys that are in the tournament and go, oh, yeah, we were busting them up in 4 feet of water, blah, blah, blah. But they were the only boat out of 100 that actually did that day. Everybody mm-hmm. else would catch them in 20. Or, whoever fished 50, but they fished in the morning instead of the evening, blah, blah, blah. I mean, that's a story as old as time right there.
And of course, here's Freddie again with braid or mono.
if he's asking me, I am all about mono, because you remember the live show that my rod got ripped, and the rod holder and all got ripped. That was 80-pound Power Pro that buried into the spool and didn't let the spool slip drag. So, I mean, even though that was a monstrous fish, and it still haunts me to this day, yeah. So I spent a lot of money on, taking hey, Becca, I spent a lot of money switching over some of my rods over into Powerline, and I just didn't like it for what I do. Now, if I was fishing like a kind of a featureless lake, some of those Oklahoma lakes are kind of like that, where they're kind of featureless, they're big bowls. They got a lot of big blues in them, but I mean, you can drag and drift with that power line, no problem. But we lost a monster in a barge because of the power line. I mean, that power line, it can't take that. At least you got a shot with 50-pound monofilament sawing it around on a piece of steel in 20 foot of water, but no shot with that power line. But then again, we fish some odd situations. I mean, we don't fish normal stuff, I don't think.
Yeah, I'm totally mono too. I love having that. I love when you're talking about those big catfish. And let's face it, you're going to get them close to the boat, and then they're, all of a sudden they're going to get that surge of energy. Well, I'd rather have that extra stretch that mono gives you, that little bit of extra protection.
Yep.
That gives you when that, you get a 60, 70, whatever, and bigger, hopefully one of these days. But and it does that, that last minute turn at the boat and surge. I want that little extra protection that mono gives you. Also, when you're fishing for monsters, let's face it, there's going to be some sort of rocks in the river. There's going to be some debris. There's going to be. I want the abrasion. I want the abrasion control that mono gives you too. So that's just me. I know.
Yeah.
But you know what? What's going to work for you is whatever line you have the most confidence in. That's what's going to work best for you, because you're going to fish it more effectively.
Whatever works for me would work for everybody, because I'm telling you, I've experienced all that weird stuff. I'm telling you, I've had, all kinds of crazy shit happen. So I'm just kidding about that. I mean, yeah, you got to tailor what you like to do for your waters and how big your fish are, stuff like that. But yeah, I could comfortably say that you pattern after what I do, you're probably not going to have fish break off.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm not gonna say it'd be all that fun, because my rods with a 20-pound fish they're not that fun. It's not much fun at all. But if you want to fling 3 pounds of bait with it, you can do it. 3 pounds of bait and weight together,
Well, and we've had that talk. We've had that talk a lot. What pound test do I use? We use mostly either 30 or 40-pound big game mono.
There's one.
And now Freddie's got a new power line out. We haven't used that yet, but that's what we've used up until now. We've used the 30 or 40-pound big game, but usually 30-pound test is what we go with. There was a question before. We got Monty Sheets in with us. What's up, Monty? How you doing? I'm looking forward.
Now, Stan, there was a time when I caught 75 and 80-pound flatheads on 20-pound test and Garcia 6500s, but I don't throw that light of weight for flatheads anymore, because I have had some disastrous situations happen with really big fish. And, I used to fish a lot more, so I could afford to kind of risk it, and lose a couple big fish here or there. But when you only get a fish 6, 7, 8 times a year now, I'm a little reluctant to throw 20-pound test anywhere near what I think a 50, 60, 70-pound flathead is going to look like.
And that goes. Roger Roger, Muskrat Adventures, he's the one I think that says that best to catch big fish. You got to be prepared to catch big fish, and that means the right,
that means
that means the right equipment, the right line.
Yep. That means the boat, the rod holders, the net, the rods and reels. That means the fish finder. That means the anchor. That means the knowledge. That it just means, and you know, a little bit of instinct doesn't hurt. You know,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So good to have
Real
Monty in here.
Real Bill had a question.
What do you consider to be the best technique in fall or winter, most productive? Anchor.
So if he's asking me that question, I don't think there's a true answer to that, except for if I answered it, what's my best technique? My best technique is to work all winter and go fishing in the summer around here, because we get ice around here. But I'm not saying that I haven't drifted or drug or what. I mean, one time we went to a power plant lake when Garrett and Connor were little, and I think we caught 80 fish in a single day, the biggest being almost 40 pounds. But the wind was pushing us just right. I had the right size drip sock. It was just the right everything. We had the right kind of baits. And I'm telling you, it was on fire. But then to try to duplicate that again, no. I mean, it only happened, a couple times. Now, if I had a really nice trolling motor and I could, get on that one, I mean, we were going in a pretty good clip when it was like this. And, most of the time, most people that drag power plant lakes like to drag at 0.5, 0.7, something in that territory. And I think that day we were probably going 2 miles an hour. And I mean, we had rods going down everywhere all day. But one of the best techniques I have found in the late fall to winter is usually that same scenario that you and I were talking about when we started the show. Finding an area that's got fish, deep water with a really close access to shallow water, and just sort of sprinkling baits and see what works. Listen to the fish. Throw up in 2-3 foot of water, throw in 6-8, throw in 12, throw off a drop, throw down, throw crossways, and see what happens. And then as soon as that experimental anchor starts teaching you something, then you just start honing in on them, and it can be different, day to day, week to week.
And that's a great way to see if they're moving too. Like if you're catching them there, and then all of a sudden you're getting them on that left rod that's closer up the ledge, and that's our favorite. Even if we are doing the moving techniques where you're drifting and dragging, we love to drift and drag on like ledges. So we've got some out in the channel, some on the deeper, some on the, and you'll start, if they're hitting off the channel, you move out into the channel a little more. If they're hitting up on top of the ledge, you move up on. That's one of our favorite, just like you said, having it sprinkled out, whether you're anchored, you're moving, whatever, that is just a great way to kind of.
And I should add one more thing. I tend to, in the cooler water period, use smaller baits. I'm not saying small. I'm just saying smaller, like, maybe, a bait that's the size of, this, or, something that's the size of, of course, one of these, something that maybe not just hold in the palm of your hand, but something, is just big enough, to keep the little ones off of it. But I mean, I've used slip floats on lakes, in this time of year, so I can go to the wind swept side, put it at the exact depth I want, throw it where it's deeper, and have the wind blow it into where it touches that ledge exactly where I want it to. And if I start getting, payment in the form of fish, I can duplicate it and, duplicate that success. And, but usually in the wintertime, it is a little bit tougher, because there are areas that you would think would have fish that just don't. And it does take you a little bit longer to find those areas that are going to gather fish. Now, the good thing about it is, where you find a few fish, sometimes you can find a lot of fish, especially when they start to gather.
Let's see. There's a bunch of things. Oh, do you think fishing under power lines can affect the fish?
My human brain says yes. Is there any absolute proof of it? To me, I have not experienced enough proof to say yes or no. One of the best spots on Shelbyville below on the Kaskaskia River was right underneath the power lines. I mean, that's been a classic spot, but it's more about the contour of the river than it is the power lines. That's for sure. It's just the power lines. It was easy for people to say, yeah, right underneath the power lines, throw out right there, you catch flatheads.
And Catfish Fever and Outdoors. What's up, Lynn? He says, well, looky here. STANday Epic brings back memories. Woo!
Yeah.
Sure does. Let's see. Tina Ladybug, how you doing? Becca's out there. Great to see you, Becca. Hope all's going well. Yep, Jodi caught her PB. She's up in the 60 pounds now. Yeah, last on her birthday, Tim. So happy last Friday night. Happy birthday. So what a way to celebrate your birthday, hooking into a 60-some pounder. So congratulations, Jodi.
Nice.
Let's see. Sounds a lot like my plan for tomorrow. Oh, what a Brian B's in here.
What the holy Epic Catfish?
Thank you, Becca. There's a Epic Catfish link. I'm sure most of the 50, 60 people that are in here have Epic already, but if not,
probably seen that. But yeah,
but definitely thank you for dropping that link, Becca. Always appreciate you. Jodi says she's still smiling from that, Tim.
What's that, Stan?
From her PB, she's still smiling.
Oh,
and that's we've talked about, that was the first thing. We've been talking as friends for a few years now, and that was kind of like one of the things, like, yeah, we're just now targeting big catfish, and I'm still excited. I catch a 20 and you're like, well, that's great. That's part of the journey. That's the excitement of it all.
Yes,
and as you keep going up, man, if you don't get excited about catching that 20 or that 30, if your biggest fish is a 10 and you catch a 15, be excited. Like, I mean, that's a monster. You just 50% over your PB. So it's all part of that. You said it's part of the journey, and man, you've been right about all that stuff. It's that that you just get excited, and you just get and if you don't, like, that's okay, but you're gonna keep catching fish. But man, the ones that get excited, you want that next one and that next one, and it's like a I don't want to say it's an addiction, but it is like you get addicted to that next fish and that next fish and that next fish. And
mine, however, went to an obsession. So you got those different levels. You got
there you go. Yes,
mine's actually it's an obsession. I start to get angry if I'm in what I consider donkey season and I don't get to fish a weekend or whatever. I'm literally pretty angry about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can see it on the live when you're once you've got on the fish, you can kind of see where you went. What was the you're in the Captain
Ahab.
Captain Ahab, thank you. To get on the fish, you're almost like you can see that you're in so focused on it that you're almost willing the fish to bite. And then, once you get on them, you can see, you kind of
I can
get
relax a little bit. Yeah. Now it's time to have fun. For me, there is no fun until I start getting on the giants. And once the giants start coming to the boat, then it's all dancing and happy, hugging and all that stuff. But yeah. But once
the Red Bulls come out.
The Red Bulls come out, I can relax a little bit until we get 15 minutes of no big fish, and then I'm right back to Captain Ahab. Yeah.
Brian B. Catfish that says, what the holy epic catfishing going on in here? Brian B. was out fishing the other day. Good to see you, bro.
Brian, we're talking about our healthy obsessions.
Steve Mosley's out there. Butterflies and Sunshine. How you doing? Let's see. Hey, John, how's it going? He's been in here. Says my local reservoir under the power line is the only place you can catch perch.
Huh.
I love perch.
I am betting that the perch are there because of the habitat more than the electrical part of it. You know, the electrical part of it, we know that you know, all fish have electroperception capabilities. Catfish's electroperception capabilities are quite a bit higher than most other fish, especially scalefish. But there is no scientific proof, no academic proof that says anything about electrical wires above the water doing anything to fish activity. Because if it was circumventing or short, you know, causing a short circuit, or you know, making it so their lateral line and their electrical perception were a little bit confused,
Mhm.
which I would think would with my human brain, but there is no real evidence to that yet.
And that absolutely, Becca. That's why I was thanking you. That's when you put the links out there, especially for newer people that come in, and we have that all the time.
We
You
appreciate
know,
it, Becca. We do.
absolutely, because they find one show and then they kind of filter in and find the others and find the other channels.
I think it's great because no one watches my channel anymore. I'm telling you, if you're not constantly uploading, I might get a comment a month on you know, or a like in a month on, you know, any of my videos
On YouTube.
Yeah,
Now I know you've
they'll promote the heck out of some really dumb stuff with some fake thumbnails, but yeah, you know, that's all right.
now I know you've dropped some videos on TikTok, and it's a
Yep.
little bit easier to do that over there, and I think
Oh,
that's why
body.
people went and did that on
Well,
TikTok.
like this one I'm preparing to do, it's probably going to take me about 25 hours to do it. Because of course I'm not just going to do, you know, a couple of phone vids or, you know, whatever and just dump it. I'm going to put from the whole season starting out. It's going to tell a story. It's going to have some voiceover. It's going to have some whatever. I'll have to make a thumbnail. I have to do this and that. I will have a lot of time in it, but you know what? It's worth it. You know, as long as I'm not trying to do it all the time, it's okay. But you know, and you and I have talked. I mean, shoot, most of the stuff I put out on TikTok, I do it while I'm drinking coffee in the morning before I go to work. I mean, and to make it really friendly to upload and stuff like that. But I realize some people are not going to watch TikTok. It comes from China, blah blah blah, and I understand it.
Yep,
I do.
yep. Let's see. Great having all the people in here. Sharon Chavez, that's Mike Chavez's wife there.
Mm-hmm.
That was not today. Let's see. Chucky's out there. Fishing fever. The power lines used to be the only place I could kill deer. You know, a lot of people with the power lines. You never know.
Never know. And believe me, just because I haven't noticed it doesn't mean it's not a thing. I mean, there are some things that I haven't paid attention to.
And Tim, that's, we've talked about this also. That's what's great about this, social media, where you can get this. You can turn in any time of the day, pretty much, and you can see what's happening in different parts of the country. And it's funny how, I think it was Cool Cats that was saying something about solar flares. He was noticing that when solar flares were happening, hey, you never know. Like in years past, it would be so hard to get data on that because it'd be so hard to get data on that because you just couldn't possibly be in enough places at the same time. But, with social media where you've got fishing activity going on in a lot of places, it's actually getting to where it's almost possible to start assimilating that kind of data, where you can put it across the country or part of different regions, et cetera, because you can see it live happening as other events are happening.
No, and it would take some pretty serious math to be able to do it very accurately because our country is so varied in its topography and its climate. I mean, America is really a really big place, and it's got definite, I don't know, what has it got, like 9 different temperate zones? I mean, if you're trying to plant a tree, it's got like 5, 5 zones from the top, up by Canada, all the way down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think it might even have 8. I don't know, but all the way down to Florida. So yeah, I mean, and not only that, it stratifies across from top to bottom, or from north to south, but it also east to west and west to east.
Yeah. We talked about that too with the oceans and and then you got the
I believe, however, I live in the garbage region of terrible, absolute terrible weather. But I think a lot of people believe that.
You get the worst of all of it, because you got that my goodness, my brain is not working.
The
you get
Canadian
the
jet stream. Yep.
Thank you, the jet stream. Thank you, Tim. I knew you'd figure it out.
Yep. Too real, Bill.
That's right, the whiteboard sessions.
Yeah, and then since football's over, but I'm telling you, I'm lucky to have this much business, but I have so much business. I'm really worried because I don't have. I mean, Connor's back in school. The other guy that worked for me, he was a contractor and he needed to work on his house. So I promised him before he even started work for me, yeah, go work. I didn't realize he was basically rebuilding his entire house. He's been gone for a couple of months now.
Oh,
so yeah, I'm pretty. I've been working 7 days a week for like a month and a half.
Yeah, I know. I haven't talked to you since.
Yeah.
Fish head videos out there. We have any other questions anybody wants to talk about out there? Jodi's show, Jodi's Flathead challenge, come up here in a little bit.
Oh,
so
cool.
make sure you check that out. In theory, if power lines affect fish, some of the data during lightning storms would translate, except that power lines are going to have, that they're going to be there in that one spot. But
I would have to say I have done pretty well, surprisingly well, under lightning storm conditions. But usually I'm already on big fish. I'm usually already settled in and there's nowhere for me to go. So, I mean, a lightning storm, yeah, you're probably way more liable to get struck by lightning if you're holding a fishing rod up, but
yeah. I've caught lightning storms. I've caught monster pike and muskie and bass and But like you said, you were already there, so it's like, I'm just going to keep fishing. What are you going to do? And the fish were already feeding; they're already in that frenzy. But I think part of that, Tim, could be that. Think about it. There's construction there. So what happens with construction? A bunch of stuff gets in the water. There's extra structure. There's extra things like that could be affecting that also. So who knows?
I would tend to think of it as being more of a primal thing, to where if it's a severe storm, it's kind of like their last ditch attempt to feed before they know they're going to just basically wait the thing out. So
I was talking about the power line thing where everybody's mentioning about like fishing under power lines, and you get those, you got concrete, you got steel. There's going to be other construction debris out there, so that could be part of it also. I know that around here, we have a similar thing, and pipelines and things like this always leave some other stuff under the water that you can't see. And that tends to be more of the reason of why that's a good spot as opposed to what's above.
Absolutely. The contour of the river, the structure, the cover, all that stuff. Yeah. I'd love to have a big batch of crappie.
I know. I promised Sharon we got to get it done. I said we're going to have a big fish fry down there. So what is your favorite way to prepare and eat catfish, fried, boiled soups. I know we were running low on time. We're good. Like Jodi can start. And
Mr. Hill, I haven't eaten a catfish since I was 22 years old. And that's been a long time ago now. Because, I'll take that back. I think I was 30 the last time I had some in a guy by the name of Jeff Williams that runs the, what's that hook and tackle company? Catfish something. But anyway, Jeff Williams, he started that, and I knew him through another guy from Pro Cats, and we actually fished on Lake of the Ozarks in the wintertime, and we had some 3 to probably 8-pound blues, and they were absolutely delicious, and they were just basically skinned, filleted, fried. And that's probably my favorite way to eat catfish if I'm going to,
There you go.
But I kind of quit keeping catfish once I figured out A, what's in them. I didn't like that. B, once I started focusing on big catfish, I don't catch that many small ones. And why keep a couple by attrition? And C, I wasn't really in love with it. Plus, I would stay out so late. Who wants to clean catfish when they get home at 4 a.m. or when the sun's coming up? I didn't want to clean catfish and all that. So I just throw a ham sandwich down my throat, go to sleep, and go to work the next day.
Tim, aside from I on Facebook, and I gotta stay out of Facebook because I get in trouble over there. Because you know how I am about this. I'm not quite to the obsession quite yet as you are, but I'm getting there. I'm slowly going up there. But and you hear people, a 60-pounder will taste just as good. Yeah. I got to just trim this and do that. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with, all this, just from a health standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Think how many years that was in there. The mercury, the PCBs, the everything else. Like, why that's just number one.
And
number two.
It is a lift as long as your leg, and you can't pronounce half of it. And I'm telling you, it's in every toxicology report. But, people are worried that catch and release guys are going to infringe on their ability to keep big fish if they want to. And really, I'm not into telling somebody else what to do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and out of all these guys that say, I've been eating it for years and it hadn't hurt me. The biggest thing is methylmercury. I said, I want to tell them that it is very difficult to prove how smart you did not get.
Yeah. So, wow.
And then I would say I would not feed a big catfish or a catfish over even 20 inches to any of my kids. Never. Not my kid. I wouldn't feed him to my worst enemy. But, I mean, people can do what they want. I smoke cigarettes. A lot of people are like, oh, my gosh, you're going to die. Yeah, going to die of something. So, I mean, that's what they're thinking about, too.
Yeah. And
might as well eat catfish.
Palmetto Cats, member for 7 months. Thank you so much, Kevin.
What's up, Kevin?
Appreciate you being out there. Thank you. So, yeah, Jodi's show. Jodi's show is starting over there. We're just going to be live for a few more minutes, and then we're gonna jump out of here. I am fishing tomorrow, so I'm gonna get up at about 3 a.m.
What are you doing at 3 a.m?
I'm getting up to go fishing.
Oh, look at you, Stan.
That's right. You got a big day tomorrow.
Well, yeah. It's the Donkey Waters Day.
That's right. Boom, boom, bam. Thank you very much, 50 Cent. I appreciate that. Great show, Stan. $19.99. Thank you. Is there first of all, any other questions out there? Keep the questions. Now is question time. I smoke also, and I do not care, period. Yeah, you know what? That's
yep.
It for me, part of it is the health, and the other part of it is the health of the catfish. Just study I just want people to make an informed decision. If you're going to keep it, hey, that's totally up to you. And I'm not judging anybody for keeping any fish. I just want you to realize what that means, both to yourself and to the fish. That's all.
Well, I want people to also realize how rare a really big fish is. They're pretty darn rare. I mean, there's more big fish being caught per capita now than ever because of the knowledge and the tools and experience and all that stuff. And there's more opportunity for blues. I mean, if you think about it, Stan, 35 years ago, there was no place but the Mississippi River to catch a blue.
Yeah.
Think of that. I mean, I had to go to Santee Cooper when I was 30 years old because there was no blue cats around here besides the Mississippi. I mean, so either you were going to go on the big river, and to a lot of people with the boats they have, they're basically risking their life. There wasn't power plant lakes with blues in them. None of the East Coast, nothing over the Allegheny Mountains, nothing over, any of those had any blue cats whatsoever. Now, some California lakes got a stocking of blue cats earlier than that, so that by like the early 90s, they were catching some huge fish, but those sort of petered out because, or at least I don't hear about it anymore. They were catching some really big fish from original stockings that they carted all the way over from the Mississippi all the way into those clear California deep lakes. And they were catching some monsters, but for some reason, well, they didn't keep up with the stocking program. And once they were caught and eaten, it was done.
Yeah.
But they don't reproduce well in the big clear lakes.
I was going to say that's probably because of the the breeding conditions, and that's why they don't do well in those small ponds and things like that. They just can't reproduce there.
Yeah, I agree.
Blues.
Yeah.
JG Hill, boom, boom, bam. Thank you very much, my friend. $4.99. Life is better with friends that fish. Oh,
it is.
Ain't that the truth?
I mean, what else are you going to talk about? You're going to talk about the garage? You're going to talk about...
I wouldn't have any friends.
What the hell?
Oh, let's say, there you go.
Only two.
Oh, Freddie.
And it's probably been in the last 20 years.
And if you'd like to get some FOA rods like Tim did, you can use
right.
code 2stands10 to save 10%.
I will say this, Freddie. The rods are super capable. And if you catch a 50 on an FOA rod, it feels like a 70 or 80. You catch a 90, it feels like a 130. So there's a bunch of pluses to that. Oh, look, I forgot to even wash my hands. Look at that. Terrible.
Fish and Fever. How many miles has Tim put on the boat trailer in the last 10 years?
Oh my, lots.
So, that's, a lot of people don't realize that, Tim. Like, they think, because like we're blessed, here at the James, we can be I can be in Richmond in less than 15 minutes to the boat ramp.
No.
Yeah, Dutch
I don't have a blue cat within 3.5 hours of me that I would want to fish for. I mean, we got some power plant lakes, but I mean, as far as big something I'd be excited about, I'm minimum 3.5 hours, and a hotel stay, and it's a 2-day investment usually.
So oh, there we go. Solo Texan Adventures. He was here back in the old days when we were having the Professor Catfish, Professor Tim. Nice.
I'll tell you what. One of the greatest things about those days, I think most people learned a lot of what we were saying. That people hadn't heard before, or they knew about it, but it just kind of helped put it all together for them. Because I hear people speaking more intelligently, and I'm not saying it's just me and you doing it, but
right.
Over the last 2, 3, 4 years, I mean, people are really speaking intelligently. They got the language down, they got the lingo down, they understand. There's not as many fairy tales. I'm dancing a jig right now.
Yeah, and I didn't know about blue cats. Where we were fishing up in New York, like catfishing was. So there were some channel cats, and every once in a while,
white cats, Stan.
Yeah, the white catfish,
which are
a bullhead.
They're bullheads. They are. They're the biggest. They're the biggest species
Biggest,
of
yep.
bullhead. Yep.
That's right. And you got your brown bullheads, your black bullheads, yellow. We had bullheads up there. We were mostly bullheads.
Oh yeah.
We did have a few channel cats. You know, I actually caught some of the biggest channel cats that are up there. I didn't even know it then. Like, I just thought that was, you know, we were pitching large shiners out and fishing for whatever fish we could get to catch in the Delaware River. And, you know, we'd catch large bass and channel cats and, you know, 18-pound channel cats we'd get now and then. And, you know, it was just, that was just fishing. But man, once we got down here and realized, and Sharon Chavez is there, I give, when we first came down here, it was the James River, and Mike Chavez was the OG for us.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was the first one that we saw and kind of watched his videos with what fish were actually the blue catfish on the James River. And, you know, so that was Mike Chavez is our original, you know, and man, we were just, holy crap, look at that.
What a really good dude too. I mean, it's hard to get better than Mike Chavez.
Yeah, you know, that was we got to fish with him, and that was just like you know, that was as cool as meeting you at CatCon. You know, it was like
yeah. Speaking of CatCon, before we get off here, we got to talk about CatCon a little bit, because I don't think I'm speaking, because I think even last year you guys leveraged Steve into getting me an open spot, and so. Because Steve did explain, he said he didn't like to have the same exact speakers all the time, and I'm like, great. So me and Sean will just go and hang out with you guys.
There you go.
So well, you got to give me that hotel information, because I'm terrible at that. Stan.
Yeah, I know it, and I was trying to get a confirmation on something, but I didn't get it yet. So
okay.
I never knew what a blue catfish was until Mac. That's Mac fishing. Big Mac there on the Potomac. I never knew what blue catfish was until I moved to Maryland, because in PA we only caught giant flathead. There you go. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I didn't know, and then you start, studying it and realizing that, wow, they, stocked the James. They put them in all these different places, like in the 70s and 80s, and
so traditionally, Stan, if you could think about it, the blue cats were only native to the Mississippi River system and the Missouri River system. I think, well, and the Ohio River system, but really they weren't fish of smaller rivers. You didn't find a decent population of them in the Illinois after the dams became. You didn't find them up the Fox. You didn't find them up any of those real small tributaries, or even fairly large rivers. Not very many. Not after the dams got in there. So, as far as being west of the Rocky Mountains or east of the the Allegheny, or what's that other mountain range that separates me and you?
Smoky Mountain.
Well, okay, they just weren't across the they just never did make it up and over like the channel cats did.
Yeah,
Arkansas blue cats. Yep.
Yep. There you go. But anybody got any other questions out there before we get out of here? Jodi's Pontoon Jodi Flathead Challenge has started. Well, Tim, anything you'd like to add before we jump out?
I got 100 things to add, but I'll save that till next time.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You're welcome anytime, any Friday night.
Possibly 1,000. You never know.
Yo, you might have 20. I'm sure you got 22,000 things you could add.
222,000 things to bring up.
You go.
Yeah, we'll wait till another day.
And thank you, Becca. Always great to see you. There's if you have not picked up Epic Catfish yet, there it is. There's his YouTube link. If you do, man, what kind of English am I talking? If you do TikTok, check out Epic Catfish on TikTok also.
Yeah, I have something like 450 videos up.
There you go. Mac Fishing said, I need more notepads. Well, we may be doing this more on Friday nights. So bring questions. We'll whenever Tim's available and he wants to come up, he has a talking spot here. So we I think it's important that we get that out. And, that's the reverence that I have for these beautiful fish, whether it be channel cats, flatheads, blue cats,
White
Um,
cat.
White catfish, bullheads. I love them all. They're
Yeah,
so.
Solo, I got a new phone.
Hey,
So,
both of us.
here's my old phone right here. The old one that's been dropped in the river like 7 times. I've stepped on it. It's fallen downstairs, and it's in the ports down here. I got a bunch of donkey bait slime in it once. So yeah, my new phone, yeah, seems to be working a lot better.
Thank you, Becca. There it is. There's Epic's TikTok link right there.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, and you guys will recognize a lot of my TikTok videos are basically excerpts from my live shows of the past. So, I'll tinker around and, maybe screen record, whatever. And if I find some pertinent information, maybe it's 30, 40 seconds, maybe it's a minute. But this year we weren't able, on one of our best trips of the year, we were not able to go live. Some reason I couldn't get a signal. So I filmed a bunch of it with the phone, and I'm telling you, it was great guns. But you're going to see it in my one epic video that I'm going to put out for YouTube this year.
Well, it'll be here. So with that being said, thank you everybody. Appreciate everybody coming in for tonight. Tim, thank you very much. Like I said, you've always got the
love it, man.
Always got a spot over here, and we can go live whenever. Hey, we can go live and talk catfish whenever you want. I don't care if it's 3 a.m. We'll just pop up.
Like the old days. Yeah.
There you go. Becca, thank you so much. Much love to you out there. Always great having Becca come in. Solo
Thanks,
checks.
Becca. Good to see you.
Get a new phone. I definitely need to upgrade my. Yeah. Hey, he said he definitely needs to upgrade his iPhone 6.
Yep.
He's on an iPhone 6.
This is an 8. So you know how old that is.
Oh my goodness. Well, y'all, whoever's out there still, when I hit end, y'all will go right over to Pontoon Jodi's Flathead Challenge. Thank you for hanging with us. Like I said, next, if you have any questions, get them ready because Tim's going to be back up again one of these weeks coming up here. So with that being said, we're out of here. Deuces.
Yeah.
Yeah. What Tim said.